Okay, this is the final chapter of this video. And yes, I've been eating the hell out of my cornbread. And my plate didn't snap. Yay. Anyway, the thing which spawned this video came into my psychology class today. And you know, I will say that the class is predominantly non-colored people. Okay? So again, I mean, it's a cool class. I love the class. I'm failing in the class, but I love the class. The thing is that a lot of people don't understand what racists do to their victims of racism. It's not something that basically you go home and take a shower and wash the feelings away. That shit doesn't happen. I shower every day. But if I could wash away racial feelings, I'd probably never get out of the bathtub. I'd probably just sit in there all day until my skin is wrinkly and ruined and things. When you are a victim of racism, it's almost, I would not like to compare it to being raped, but it's pretty much the same damn thing emotionally. And emotionally, a rape victim never heals. Not emotionally. Physically, yeah. But emotionally, a rape victim never, ever heals. No matter what anybody tells you, no matter what the hell the Lifetime Movie of the Week says, a rape victim never heals. Alright? And there's more than one type of rape, not just the physical rape, but the systemic rape. A rape victim never heals. A victim of racism never really heals either. And we always feel that when is the next racist going to come and say something to us that's going to put us right back in that vulnerable spot, because freedom of speech has led to a lot of deaths. Alright? And sometimes not deaths from freedom of speech, but just being a person of color has led to a lot of deaths. There have been a lot of people of color who have been murdered just because of the fact that they are of color and that people could kill them and get away with it. Now, on the flip side of that, that works both ways. There have probably been a lot of white people who have been killed for being in the right place at the wrong time. Which, what does that do? That brings more hatred towards black people because of the black people who did the wrong thing, the wrong person at the wrong time, fucks it up for everyone else. Alright, let me be more clear. Good 15, maybe 20 years ago, I don't exactly remember because I'm 44, Malcolm, the serial sniper, whatever the hell, scenario sniper, the Washington, D.C. sniper, Mohabit and Melvo. I think it was Malcolm Mohabit and Lee Melvo. I don't fucking remember their names. I don't give a fuck because they only made it worse for black people. Okay? So, let me explain that. 9/11 happened. And everybody went from hating black people to loving black people and now not liking Muslims and the Indians with the dots. Alright? You guys, you want the whole 1,000? This is the place for it. This video right here will probably be the longest video and will probably be the one that pisses off everyone on earth. But I'm going to give it to you the way it is. This is how it works. Black people could start catching cabs now. Black people could walk in stores without the store detective following us, especially around here. Yeah, I've been followed by a store detective. Oh, I can tell you some stories about how I've had to take my wallet out and show them that I had at least $200 in my hand or I wouldn't be in your store in the first place. You know, and yes, that happened around here in a local Sears. The same Sears that fired me on my fucking day off. Anyway, that being said, moving on. When 9/11 happened, people of Iranian, Arabian, Indians with the dots, anybody who was not legally a black person became targets. They would attack these people because they felt that in attacking innocent people of the same ethnic background was somehow justifiable for those jackasses who used Allah as an excuse to kidnap people on a plane and deliberately crash them into the Twin Towers. Now, what do you beating up innocent people of the same ethnic background, the same religious prowess, that's not giving the dead people justice. You beating up on innocent people, that makes you no better than the fucking assholes that took the fucking plane over and crashed into the Pentagon and crashed into the Twin Towers. Now, everybody in the plane that crashed to the Pentagon, or the one that crashed into the field, they were deemed heroes. Alright? And there were blacks on that plane, there were whites on that plane, there were probably Asians on that plane, but they took the plane. Unfortunately, they all lost their lives in the process. And as for the plane that hit the Pentagon, there were a lot of other things that just played in this factor. But for that brief moment during 9/11, every comic book took notice and put in a world without heroes. Spider-Man and all the other superheroes were going down to 9/11, to ground zero, and trying to help. Everybody in every crossover comic was in the 9/11 comic book crisis, and they were trying to fix it. Cap went on a terrorist binge. He only went after terrorists. He didn't go after to anybody like the Red Skull or any of those people. He only went after terrorists. Spider-Man and them were doing smaller crimes. They were no longer going after the Shocker and other things. They were only going after terrorists. So that whole year during 9/11, that's what Marvel was focused on. That's what DC was focused on. And everyone who was black was recognized as people, where everyone who was not black or of Muslim religion or of Indians with the dots were recognized how black people used to be recognized, as the scum of the earth and lower and dumb, and was treated as such. No one would ride in Habib's taxi anymore. No one would stop, taxis would stop and actually pick black people up in New York, when that has always been a problem, which it has become a problem again. Just speaking, if you're not famous and black, you can pretty much walk from 22nd Street to Times Square. I don't know if my geographics are correct there, because I haven't been in New York in a long time. But at that same time, these things are the things that changed right up until the time when the profiler realized they fucked up. The DC sniper was 2 black men. And the black man went from being society and being noticed and being taken care of and not being considered a threat to society, back down here to being a threat to society. And you know the worst part about that? The Indians with the dots, the people with the turbans, and the people who just were straight Muslim, whether they were black or whatever the other races that I just named, were still treated like they were threats. Why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing this up because of the racist conversation that we had in class. It wasn't really racist, but it was more about feelings and emotions, because that was the topic of class today. But the thing with that is that feelings and emotion being one and the same, but not so much being a choice. And the thing is, when it comes to racism, it's really not an emotional choice that people who have been victims of racism can really speak on without bringing themselves to tears, without reliving that moment over and over and over. And it's just like a fucking rape victim who has been raped one time, but then let down by the system, which means they've been raped twice, because the rapist will look there and he'll be in court. They have the DNA, they have the hair, but all it takes is for one person to say, well, hell, she was promiscuous. I slept with her last week. I'm lucky she didn't call rape on me. And next damn thing you know, case is thrown out of court, because all it takes is one guy that they can find. Somebody who had an axe to grind or a knife to turn into that young lady's back that's been raped. And everybody in the court will go, oh, prostitutes can't get raped because they pay people, or people pay them rather, to have sex. And you didn't know I was talking about a prostitute. You just assumed I was talking about a young lady who went to Harvard. Like they don't get raped. Young ladies that go to Harvard do get raped. That's what the hell GHB is for. That's what has been used on young ladies all the time. But they don't have rights either, because if they were promiscuous, they are in a category of, you're not over here, because over here is the primp and pretty girls. But if you're a chick that likes sex, you're a nympho, so that automatically makes you a whore and a slut, so you don't have any rights because you're promiscuous. So racism is kind of like that. It's kind of like judging a book by its cover before you get to read the good part of the book. People don't seem to get that. People who have never been victims of racism don't understand how that feels when someone automatically categorizes you without even getting to know your story, things you've been victimized in, or anything about you outside of the color of your skin. So automatically, I have not met one black person, and I would love to meet you if you're out there. I have not met one black person who has not been called a nigger by either a white person or another black person. I haven't met an Asian person who's ever called anybody a nigger yet either. I'm not really trying to go there, but at that same time, I haven't met them. I've met black people and I've met white people, both who have called me a nigger. Alright? I'm 44 years old. There hasn't been much that I haven't experienced. Alright? But I can relate and understand both points of view. The woman in class who thinks that your anger feelings is a choice, she's been through stuff. She's a woman. So I know she's been through probably a little bit more than the younger woman who's just starting out. However, the difference in their ethnicities is the difference maker in all. Because the young woman, who's of Latin descent, says she was once called the beaner. Alright? Now, if you're a Carlos Mencina fan, then you know beaner is a really bad term for Latins, Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, things like that. Anybody of a Spanish descent that is not from Spain. Alright? So if you're of Spanish descent and you are a Mayan, an Aztec, an Incan, you know, those bands of Native Americans that went through systemic racism and conquered by Cortez, which is why they speak Spanish, where the northern tribes of Native Americans, which includes the tribe in which I am a descendant from, were conquered by English-speaking people, and the Canadians and the French, and things like that, which is why the First Nations probably speak their language as well as French, as well as regular old English and Canadian, or regular English, which is Canadian. You'll figure out what the hell I'm trying to say without trying to sound like a complete ass. The point being made is that if you aren't a victim of this, then you don't know how emotionally you are felt by that one word or that one phrase or that gender bias kind of thing. Now, if you've lived that nice life where you've only been the victim of stuff just because, alright, this has happened to mostly white women. It's probably happened to black women and Asian women also by their own society of, you're a woman, you have no rights. Your property, if I want to have sex with you, you're going to have sex with me, you're going to take it for the team, whether you like it or not, you're going to have my kids, whether you want to or not, that's the way it is, and you're going to bend over and you're going to take it. You can say whatever you want, but I own you, and the laws were like that. Nowadays, no such luck, and with the boost of the Me Too movement, which makes it a horrible thing for guys like me to even attempt to talk to pretty girls, it is a catch-22, but at the same time, women have more rights, but women have been through a lot of shit to earn these rights. Now, we're getting away from the nice people who haven't been through racial things, just gender things. Now, here's where shit gets fucked up. So again, I'm going to piss off everybody in the world watching. Alright? And you can take it as it is, or you can take it with a grain of sand, but either way you watch it, you may get slapped by someone's hand. The fact of the matter is that women of color have had systemically been put down more and been through more because of the simple fact that even if this white woman has been through some stuff, this black woman and this Asian woman and this Native American woman and this Latin woman has been through worse, because technically these are the fantasies. These are the forbidden fruits. So I'm not saying white women have been raped through time, because indentured servants were raped, as I said in my other two videos. But these women, the Asian woman, the white woman, the black woman, the other women that are not white, I'm sorry for saying white women twice, but they have been mostly attacked because they are the forbidden fruit. One of my grandparents has white blood in them, because I'm sure another one of my grandparents was probably raped by a white man. And instead of getting rid of the child or selling him into slavery, he became the houseboy. The same can be said for a Native American, same thing can be said for a Chinese woman, same thing can be said for a Latin woman, because of the way the world has systemically beaten down the female gender and not giving them the equal rights that they deserve. And now that all that's happening, everybody wants a piece of the pie, which there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is that nobody really wants to share. Now, why did I go there? Because here's the thing. The young lady is in her 1920s. The other woman is a little bit more mature, so she's in my age group. She's been through stuff. She's lived through stuff. but she has not lived through what this young lady has lived through because she is not of a particular race. She falls into the category of Caucasian because she is a white lady. She will never know what the young Latin woman feels here. Racism doesn't attack you up here. Racism attacks you here first. And most of us can use our brains to circumvent or prioritize how we want to react to that shit. Like I said, in the third or the fourth grade, since I was in the fourth grade twice, I'm not really sure, but in the third or the fourth grade, or the fourth grade twice, there was a young white lady who was blonde, with blue eyes, looked me dead in my face and said, "James, you're a nigger." Now, my brain heard that shit, but my heart reacted before my brain could stop it. And my heart said, hit her in the mouth. And I did. And then I was sitting in Mr. Garrett's office, and Mr. Garrett was doing everything he could to make me tell him why I hit this girl in the mouth. In my entire school academic career, I had never been in trouble until that day. And he had been my principal almost from day one. And he was like, "James, you ain't never been in trouble here, man. You need to talk to me. I don't want to suspend you from school. I don't want to expel you from school, but you bust a fellow student's lip and you need to start talking." And I told him, I can't tell you what he said because we don't use that language in our house. And we didn't. I don't think the word nigger ever came into our house until like 1984 or something. Or whenever I got hit with that word and then I took it home and called my uncle that and got an ass whooping for it. But we never used those words in our home. We never heard of the word nigger before. Even when we watched Roots, it wasn't even allowed to be, they blurred out. Now, in Shaka Zulu, they blurred out. But by the time the 90s came, you could watch Shaka Zulu and Roots in its full entirety without the word nigger or cracker being blurred out of the damn thing. But we had to watch it at school, and we had to watch it at home. But that happened after I hit the girl in the mouth. And so after he edged me on, then I finally told him, I said, "Well, she called me a nigger." He said, "Do you know what that means?" I said, "Yes, I do." Which is why that language is not used in our house. You know? He said, "Well, you know it means an ignorant person." I said, "Well, the dictionary defines it as an ignorant person or a person of color." Now, I like to go by the first definition of an ignorant person. However, it still has the word person of color or Negro written on there. Go ahead and Google it. I'm sure you're probably Googling that shit that I've said already. So anyway, my mom came to school and saw this problem. When they saw my mom, they thought that she was white. Because Premium Blend, if you see my Facebook page, she's on there. I didn't put it there, but whoever I'm connected to family-wise has her face on Facebook. My mom looks straight up like a damn white lady. You can't miss her. Anyway, so when they got there, they thought, well, her parents thought that she got to fighting with a white boy. They couldn't figure out why would a white boy hit their daughter in the mouth for calling him a nigger. She made a mistake. They didn't know my mom was not white. She just looks white. What we like to call passing or mulatto. And then once they found out, because my mom said, well, first and foremost, we don't use that language in our house. And my son is black, and I am black. And that pretty much stunned them because no one could look at my mom and say she's black. Alright? No one. And the thing with that is, you know, is that when people looked at my mom, they were like, "God, James, you have a white mom. You have a white mom." You don't know how many times that has come across my attention that people just really wanted to point that out as a child. They really, 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 really couldn't help themselves. They wanted to point that out, that I have a white-looking mom. And it's been thrown in my face more times than I can count. There have been many of friends and many of enemies and many of other people who would throw that in my face with, "God, James, you have a white mom." And you don't know how many times I got tired of hearing, "God, James, you have a white mom." In my lifetime, I've heard that shit at least 400 plus times. I am 44 years old, by the way. So that should give you off center, you know, how many times I've actually, literally, have heard people say that. And even my white friends look at my mom and say, damn, man, your mom's whiter than my mom. I'm trying to find a picture. But not a current picture. An old picture. Like when I was a child. With her and me in it together. I know I have it on here. I just don't know where. It's another reason why I fucking hate technology. Because technology is a pain in the ass. If I didn't need it, I'd be able to pull that picture out of my ass without a problem. But because I need it, I can't show you Premium Blend. I might be able to find it before the video's over. I might not. But the whole point of the matter is that, you know, you go through stuff, and when it comes down to like racism is one of those touch and go things that if you haven't been a victim of it, then you don't know how the victims feel. And I pray that you never do. But the problem is, until you feel that pain, that anguish, you won't know why people make the hard decisions or the choices that we make when we are called these unpolite names by people. You know, and like I said, you know, if you haven't never been a victim, man, then God has blessed you. You know, simply put, God has blessed you on a level that you should be grateful for. Where if you have been the victim, let me be the first to apologize to you, because I've been the victim for more than most of my life. And it's not so much as a choice when something strikes you like that. Because like I said, being a victim of racism is no different than being a victim of rape. It really ain't. And people don't really understand that because they aren't the victims. They're generally the victimizers, or the people who are bystanders who choose to do nothing, because as the Asian proverb goes, and I say the Asian proverb because I don't want to offend anyone, because I don't know exactly which Asian country it came from, but the Asian proverb goes, all it takes for good to fail is, oh excuse me, I'm saying it wrong. All it takes for evil to succeed is for good people to stand by and do nothing, which is the God honest truth. All it takes for evil to succeed is for good people to stand by and do nothing. I can't find that picture, but I'm going to just go ahead and give you a closer to modern day picture of my mammy. No. So, like I said, she could pass. The reason why I say that is because I took her to Scottsville once and I lost her in a crowd of white people. Yeah, that shit really happened. You can't make that shit up. But like I said, back on topic, if you have not been a victim of racism, it is basically like being a victim of rape. You can't tell anyone because they can't feel what you feel. You can describe it until the cow come home. It's like you stomp your toe. Everybody has done that. So everybody knows exactly how that feels. We talked about how we avoid pain in class today. So you're not going to hold your hand over a lit cigarette lighter. Sooner or later, something's going to start cooking. You're not going to do anything that subjects you to physical pain. But emotional pain, that's a whole other ballgame. That is a horse of a different color, which we have not really tried to explore. We haven't tried to explore why people become racist. We haven't tried to explore why people do and say racist things to each other without so much as a backwards look to see the expression on other people's faces. We haven't. Because most of the time, there's no empathy and nobody gives a damn. Where the person has been through some shit, can tell people their story, but at that same time, even with empathy, You can't honestly feel what that person has gone through without being there. Example, the royal beatdown in the parking lot during August 12th. Okay? I ain't never been beat like that. I done been in lots of fights, but I ain't never been beat like that. I've been jumped. Yeah, I've been jumped on my job. When I worked at Keller's when I was 16, I got jumped by 2 white fellas that didn't have anything better to do but try to impress their girlfriends, and that shit didn't work out for them. But they did jump me. You know, they started it, and I was going to end their lives. But I don't hit girls, and their girlfriends got in the way. Alright? Hopefully they grew up, and that gave them something to think about before they did something else stupid to a person of color. And let's not bullshit about it. Had I been white, they would not have done that shit. But because of my color and me being a half-breed, they came up there with all the, hey boy, yo boy, what's up boy, and we're gonna fuck you up boy, and we're gonna throw you in that dumpster. And my dumb ass told them, yeah, you might fuck me up, but you're not throwing me in that goddamn dumpster. Because I was exceptionally claustrophobic at the time. And I mean exceptionally claustrophobic. But they kept egging it on. They kept egging it on. And the guy who brought them up there was my friend. He was not an enemy. He was my friend. And I can only blame myself because me being the show off at 16, 17 years old, doing all these kung fu moves, jumping spin kicks, and all this other stuff. And what went wrong was, I didn't think that he would go tell his friends. And what also went wrong was, he didn't think his friends would be racist or stupid enough to go up there and, hey, let's go pick on the dishwasher. Let's go fuck him up. But the best part of the story is, even though I won, my coworker, who was a ginger, really big, tall, white fella, watched the whole thing. Never made moves to come up there and help me or anything. His exact words were, forgive my language, because there's no way to really describe this outside of keep the shit real. You's a bad motherfucker, man. You really know that kung fu shit, man. I watched those 2 guys jump you, man, and you did this flip thing, and you landed on top of them, you elbowed and you rolled off of them, and you stood ready, and then his girlfriend got in the way. What you was gonna do? And I told him, I was going to fuck them up. Now, had they just let me do my job, take the trash to the dumpster, and go back home, all that shit would have never fucking happened. It kind of put me in a position where I didn't have a choice. Because there was a distraction. He was the guy talking all the shit. And then there was the attacker, who grabbed me and put me in a bear hug with a vice grip and locked me down like this. I had no choice but to fight. If you're going to lay there and take an ass whooping, then you deserve it. But I had no choice but to fight. He had me locked, my arms was locked, and he was behind me like this, but his hands was clasped. So his hands is up here, my hands are down here. And I just went forward, boom, I rolled up off of him and said, get up. Now I'm going to give you the chance you didn't give me. He couldn't catch his breath. His life was mine, and I was going to kill him. I kid you not, I was going to kill him. I didn't take all that kung fu shit to have my ass beat on my job. But to have co-workers not even bother to come help was probably the worst. No, it's all forgiven, it's all done. But the fact of the matter is, that was basically a racist attack. How many white people you know just come up and attack you for no reason because you're a colored dishwasher? How many black people come up and attack you because you're black? Now, if you haven't done nothing to their sister or their mother, they generally don't have no reason to come get you unless they're just straight bullies and assholes. Well, here's the thing. I only probably in high school, maybe I had 7 black friends. Maybe not even that much. That's like an estimated guess number. I did have about 13 black bullies, though. So, like I said, reverse racism. If you haven't been a victim of racism, then you don't know how it affects you emotionally. If you know people who have been a victim of racism, and if you're empathetic, then you know that it will and does affect you emotionally. Now, that's one way of putting it, but you'd have to be in the shoes of the victim. I'm going to end this video with this. You know, one way or another, we have to learn how to live with each other. Why in the fuck can we not live together in peace? We all bleed red. If you don't wash, your ass stinks. If you don't brush your teeth, your breath stinks. So why in the hell we all go through this shit? And unfortunately, as I must bring this up, women have a genetic flaw or cleansing or the circle of life where they have to have ovulation. So if we all go through that, whether you're a man or a woman, whether you're white, black, or Asian, why in the hell, if we have so much in common, that we can't see eye to eye and live in peace? Because we don't want to. That's what the problem is. If we really wanted world peace, let's keep that shit real. I just told you everything we have in common. The only damn thing we don't have in common is the color of our skin. That's where the shit goes wrong. You know, when skin color comes into factor, then it becomes racist. And when it becomes racist, that's when shit goes from I can be your friend to I cannot be your friend. I'm going to close on one more thing. Because back when I was in grade school, right about the time, either before or after I hit the girl in the mouth, we had a race war in my school. Blacks didn't want me on their side. Whites didn't want me on their side. And this was before I found out that I was part Native American, which means I shouldn't have been on anybody's side in the freaking beginning. But when they found out I was Native American, it only got worse from there. So, again, you know, if you haven't been a victim of racism, then you don't know what the victim of racism feels like until you're in their shoes. We should all make a point to try to be calm, to be collective, to sit down and ask a person who has been a victim of racism, or ask a person who is a downright racist, what their problem is. Well, I can answer you the problem about the victims. They're victims. And as for the victimizers, why would they do such a thing to someone else? Simple. They were taught to from birth. You're not born this way. You're made this way. Why do you think kids do what they want? Because we don't have discipline? Because they can? Because the law prevents us from teaching our children right from wrong? All of that. But the main reason is no one was willing to sit down at a table and be honest about how they feel about other people. And most of us feel the same way about each other, but stereotypes have given us a twist to make us feel this way about someone else. I'll make another racist video, but it won't be right now, because I have to go walk the dog. Be seeing you. Hopefully I made it through to all of you.